In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted in the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Notice of this meeting by the April 11th, 2019 Sunshine Notice has been sent to the Record, Suburbanite, and Northern Valley Press, and has been posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. Just so you folks understand, we have some presentations to make. Then we're going to go through a relatively, I believe, short work session. Then we will go into a public meeting. We're going to do all of this here. And at the beginning of the public meeting, public comment will be taken. So first we have presentations. And who's going to make the presentations? Who's going to make them? She?
Sure.
Cheryl? Yes. Please come forward.
Good evening. We have 3 presentations today. One is our lupus, which we just got donated by a resident of Tenafly, who donated it. It's a life-saving mechanism for CPR. We'll explain that after the awards, and then we'll show you how it works so that you all understand it. It's a pretty expensive piece of equipment, but we're really thankful that we got one of these. We have 3 life saves tonight, which is really something for an ambulance corps to have a life save at 1 in a year. We've had 4 so far this year. So we actually had one on February 15th. It was an overdose. We got a call, a person down, and we went to the call with an overdose. We got him up into the rig and then went into full cardiac arrest. At that time, we started CPR, and with the assistance of medics and the police department and EMTs. We all worked as a huge team because this person ended up being in a basement, which we didn't carry up the stairs, which is a difficult situation in the best of circumstances. So we got the person out into the rig fairly quickly with all the help from police officers, and the medics started working on it right away. And once the on February 15th, it was Cheryl Reynolds, which is me. And you get the pins. Alan Good. Alan. Good, he's not here. And JP.
David Novick, right?
Okay, and
What is Cheryl's
you're going to set the ones that aren't here, which would be Officer Kaminski,
But she's also an employee, right?
Monty,
What's the title?
and Lawrence. We're on the call. You get there. Anyone get their award? And Mike Wardnick, Kat Fulmer, and Lawrence Mintz were the paramedics, and they're not being able to come this evening.
And folks, for you that don't know, Cheryl is the president of the TVAC Association, who's also the employee that coordinates the volunteers with Borough Hall. Dan Park is the liaison, Councilman Dave Park is the liaison with TVAC, and David Novick is our relatively new chief, captain of the ambulance corps.
Okay, and the next one happened on March 9th, and this person was TPD, Augustine, and this person was lying unresponsive. They started CPR right away. They called ALS. ALS came as well as They also have the AED, and they did several rounds of CPR and got their pulse back before they got into the ambulance, which is a great accomplishment. And those people are JP, Dave Finkel, which is not here this evening. Justin Everon, you want to accept for Justin? Everon. Joanna Lee. And Jacob Brick.
Cheryl, most of these volunteers are high school students?
That is correct. A good 70% are high school students. Sorry. And we have 18 new high school students coming into the summer program. So without high schoolers, we would not be able to survive. And the medics would be Kat, Homer, and Jackie Rossi. All right, and the police officers would be Chadwick, Officer Chadwick. Officer Greco. And Sergeant Barnes. Oh, that's, this is for Barnes. All right, you want to get that thing? You have one red, one two red. Please, I'll just get red and one. I'll see if you're okay, please. All right. And so that was that call. And for our very last call is on March 31st. Again, we get a call, patient is down in the street. He was walking his dog. And he went down the street. So the officers arrived again, and he had a weak pulse when he first got there, and then came into full cardiac arrest. And we got a pulse back, and he was awake and alert by the time he got to the hospital. So that was a very good CPR call that we had. And the EMTs were Brian Lapidus, Max Mullen, Rachel Rothstein, Ava Lugana, she's not here this evening, Jacob Brick, and Chris Conch.
Now, we need to thank not only the members that were here tonight, whose names were called, but all of the members of TVAC who go through rigorous and expensive training to be available to us. It's one of the special things about Tenafly. We have quite a team, starting with our police department that are normally our first responders, our police department and our TVAC, and TVAC partners with our high school. We get not all of, but most of our volunteers from our high school. And it's just a remarkable program that is the envy of many towns, some of which are much larger than ours. And Cheryl and the captains, first it was Max, and now it's David, put this all together, and residents of our community should be very thankful for what we have here.
Can I say something, please? I would like to add my,
She's not done. Officer Monty?
oh, okay.
Sergeant Martin, sorry. Officer Vinnie Cooper? And Officer Stoll. Medics with Tom Bennett and Latino was the other medic from Englewood. And with that, just to get you an idea why this machine is so important is we have to do compressions the entire time now. You get very tired when you're doing the compressions, and sometimes you don't get as deep as you'd like to. With this machine, it continues to give the same amount of compression. Max, you want to go by that sheet? So they place this on the patient and bring it down so that you can see that the compressions so that this machine will keep going all the way to the hospital. And each battery lasts 45 minutes. We have 2 batteries for a backup so that it continues going. Keep it going, keep it going. It'll stop, tell it to check the pulse, and then it'll proceed again. So this is a very important machine to keep people's lives going, and we're very fortunate to have, we have one, because they're very, very expensive. They run around $18,000.
Where is this machine normally found?
This is normally found in, medics are now carrying them, and some of the ambulance corps are now carrying them.
No, our machine, where do you keep
We
it?
keep it in the duty rig, so whatever duty rig is that night, that's where the machine is. We also have responder trucks that if we need to, if they're on one call with that particular item and we get another call, someone can go back and get the responder truck, get the piece of machinery and take it to the other call. So this should give you an idea how well this machine works for you, and we're very fortunate that Arlene and Cliff Blaker are the ones that donated this piece of machinery, and they were with us during the training period. We had everybody come into the training. We don't have our kids here tonight because we're on spring break and they're all on vacation. If you would see tonight, you would see another 30 members here because they're all, we try to do as much on call as we possibly can, and we do not charge, which is one of the most wonderful things if you talk to any other town that we don't charge. Because Medicare is not paying for all the ambulance rides. And you get one of those bills, you'll probably need one of those machines.
But keep in mind, this machine is the result of a donation from a couple in Tenafly, and we're open to all sorts of donations. If,
Yeah, we'll never turn down a donation.
but like I said, this is a part of what makes Tenafly a really special town. And we thank the officers here from the police department, and we thank the members of TVAC for all your service to our community. Thank you.
We also, Mayor, if you want to come down, we also have plaques for each one of the CPR saves to be hung in the Borough Hall, because we think it's kind of we started this now, we think it's kind of an important factor to kind of show the public that we're out there doing a lot of the saves. So we have 3 plaques to present to you to hang up.
Okay. It's part of the campaign, what do you expect? That's how it is.
Thank you. If you don't want to send it to us.
Okay, and there's the three plaques.
I'd like to ask everybody to give Cheryl.
Oh, I didn't say Cheryl, I would like to add my personal thanks to the ambulance corps. I had to use them recently, and I cannot tell you how professional they were. And I would like to personally thank for everything they did.
Thank you. Thank you. They helped.
Okay, we're going to move on with our agenda. And bear with us, we're going to go through a very short work session, and then we're going to go into a public meeting. The first item on the work session is to be considered is parking lot enforcement. Is the chief here tonight?
Yeah.
If he's,
He's still here.
he's here. He's here.
Shaking hands.
So, Rob, would you mind coming up? I think the first thing I'd like you to tell us is the level of enforcement we're having at this particular point in our designated parking areas, the lots that are owned by the borough and designated either as commuter, 3-hour parking, employee parking. Give us a sense of what's going, what level of enforcement we have now, and if you have any suggestions as to how it might be improved.
All right, so knowing that I was coming this evening and this was a topic and you wanted some information, I went through our computer record system and I grabbed some data, some stats for you. If you could just give me a moment here just to describe a couple of things. So I give you a monthly report on traffic enforcement. It's usually moving violations and parking. The parking part broken out. Just give you some numbers. In 2015, the police department wrote 767 summonses. In 16, 605. In 17, 925. In 2018, 1,119. And then to date, in 19, 270. We're issuing more summonses. It's our focus, largely on the part of the Traffic Bureau.
But Chief, how many of them are in the parking lots that we own versus basically parking tickets within the town of Tenafly?
Well, let me go further. So parking enforcement details, which are mainly done by the Traffic Bureau. This is mainly all done downtown. So this is parking lots and on-street parking. The streets, Washington, River Edge Road, West Railroad Avenue J, Piermont, Highwood, Hillside, Grove Street, Franklin, and Gordon. Gordon's included because there's a town limit parking for the high school. So in 2015, 54 parking details. In 16, 57 details. And then we jumped to 2017 to 185 details.
Would you describe what a detail is,
Hold
please?
on. And then 2018, 226 details. And then to date in 2019, 42. So what happened was, because the numbers there, the data of summonses are there. A few years ago, we had officers that were issuing summonses downtown in parking lots and on the street, but they weren't creating a record of it, which is basically a traffic P. It's a designation for that type of enforcement, traffic parking enforcement. That was a practice thing. I fixed that a couple of years ago, and also staffing also plays a part here also too, because if I can explain, when it comes to the backbone of the police department is the patrol division. So whenever there's a void in the patrol division, a vacancy, or there's a shortage there, I have to pull the traffic people out of that role, put them into the patrol division. So we did have some years where we had short staffing in the patrol division and traffic was light. But of late, the Traffic Bureau's been staffed amply, something indicating, showing why we've had all these details. Now, a parking enforcement detail, what it is it's a traffic officer going downtown. It's always downtown. parking. And he's creating a record, and basically he's indicating that he's going to be doing parking enforcement in the lots or the streets. And it's the time limit parking or the commuter parking. And at the end of the detail, he goes back 2-3 hours afterwards, he basically puts down how many summonses he's issued. So in the last 2 years, well, in 2017, 185, last year, 226. There's this conception, something that we're not doing these details, and I've been telling you, no, the officers are down there. They're making records. They're issuing probably a few to a handful of summonses per detail. Some of them, there's nothing. They do the enforcement. They either chalk the tires or they make a notation where the valve stem of the tire is, and they go back a couple hours later, and when it's still in the same spot, or the chalk lines haven't moved, they know the vehicle hasn't moved, and they write summonses. When it comes to where they do it,
Is this what a detail is?
Yes.
Basically, and if they do like a parking lot, let's say the CVS parking lot details, how many times do they do it? Like once a day on the average?
So that would be considered River Edge Road. The River Edge Road enforcement that we have is basically the CVS lot, which is Lot M. So last year it was 34 times, in 17 it was 25 times, this year it's 11 times, and they vary it.
So once a month?
Maybe a little bit more than that. A lot more, the enforcement is Washington Street. Also the lots, the post office lot, a lot across the street from there. So they try to vary it up to keep people basically honest. You don't want to enforce the one lot every single day. They like to break it up.
Let me ask you a question, Chief, because we've been doing this dance for quite some time.
Right.
And of course, once again, it's a balancing act, as the president of the Chamber of Commerce would tell you. When we give out a lot of tickets, the store owners hear about it. Probably the angriest resident I've dealt with this year was a woman who said, "I was only parked for 3 hours and 10 minutes, and I got a summons. I'm never shopping in Tenafly again." Well, I'm sure the 3 hours and 10 minutes might not have been totally accurate, but it's a tough situation. Also, we have highly trained, highly paid officers doing the kind of work, I don't want to call it grunt work, but it's work that, would it make sense for us to hire somebody at a lower rate of salary just to, 20 hours a week or whatever it would be, to go around and do parking enforcement? Other towns have parking authorities. I'm not suggesting that it's very expensive, but to hire, say, one part-time guy with varied hours so that commuters might not understand a pattern, to do the same things you're talking about. And I can chalk a tire. I can come back in 4 hours. So I'm saying, what's your thought on that?
My thought on it, before being chief, and before I was a captain, I was in the traffic bureau for 12 years. Parking enforcement was something the traffic bureau handled on a regular basis amongst traffic crashes and doing speeding complaints, other things. It's something in your routine. I thought that we addressed it well. Maybe some days we were doing it daily, some days we wouldn't. But as you indicated before, it's striking that balance. Historically, in the past, there have been times where we've been very heavy with it, and then the moment that happens, there's tremendous outcry. And then the business owners are very upset, the patrons are very upset, the employees are very upset, and they all point the finger at us, which, listen, I don't mind that, but again, we're limited with where we can park. We want Tenafly to be a friendly town to come shop. The employees, there's not much parking for them, so where are they supposed to go? So we would actually conduct our enforcement to keep them honest. Maybe we wouldn't be in the same lot every single day, but we would be there. They would know when we're coming, and when we come, it's very rarely that we write warnings, we write summonses. And it seemed to, in my opinion, get the message across.
I think,
striking that balance.
I think the biggest concern we have, and I know this is what sticks in Max's craw, is commuters that park in our shopping lots. I also think there were times when business owners parked on the street. So I think what would behoove us is to regulate and get a sense of the use of employee parking lots. Are they overused, underused? And we need to
I think I've heard from people in the department that they believe that more spaces should be available to employees. There's a lot of employees.
Well, are they using all,
And
are
it's
they,
not-
are they using all the spaces we've allocated for employees?
Right, and they need more.
But
They are.
they using them all?
The employee lots, I believe, are full, yes. And yes, and well, you guys know better than I do, but every business only gets so many spots, and, you know, some places obviously have more employees than the amount of permits they can get. You know, I've heard that, you know, the lot behind the movie theater, you know, so I don't know how many people actually shop there and go find the store. That's probably something better suited for employees. People like to shop kind of in front of the store, close to the store. I don't know who's going back there, but places like that, I mean, maybe restructuring Franklin Street lot, making it more employee than commuter. I mean, I don't know how much revenue, if it's revenue-based, how much revenue the commuter lots are generating, but that would be a great place to actually create for more employees.
Okay, so, may I ask a question?
Please.
All right. I witnessed myself people coming from the bus and coming into the CVS parking lot, picking up the car and driving away. So those were people coming from New York, the bus stop is Stop and Shop, they cross the street, they go in the car and drive. So I know they're using that as a...
The Stop and Shop or the CVS lot? The Stop and
No,
Shop.
the bus stops and Stop and Shop. When they come, they cross the street into the CVS the parking lot, they take the car and drive away. I've witnessed that myself.
So maybe that's one area one lot we could concentrate on.
We have, I have data on that, but yeah, you're not done yet.
Okay, no, I'm not done. The existing employees, we give them now unlimited decals for the existing. Know how much we give them?
8 per business.
8 per business. If we're gonna give them basically for everybody decals, such a way that you know that those are employees and they can park, would that make it easier for you to do enforcement? Because now you don't have to worry about the shop owners trying to basically come in and say, what are you doing to my employees? Because I don't think that there is a traffic with these decals in the world. So if we can get as many as they need, that would alleviate the issue. At the same time, I come over here at the municipal lot parking lot, and at 10 o'clock it's full. It's probably twice as many as the existing employees are here. I have to believe, because by 5, 6 o'clock, at 4:30, the employees of the municipalities leave, and there is half of the parking lot that's still full. Those are people that they have no business. They basically park the cars over here and went to someplace else. You want to say something?
I just want to remind you that McCandless Room holds classes in the morning. There's a lot of mommy and me, a
Yeah.
lot of families
But not
come
at
with
4:30
kids.
in the afternoon.
I think what,
And after school.
I would tell you this, being here for quite some time and going through this process on numerous occasions, I think that if we want this parking situation to work better, we have to devote more assets to it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree with
I'm not convinced that what Max said about the municipal lot is absolutely correct, but there's only one way of telling. Employees need to put a pass on their car, so we know which cars are employees, but we also have library patrons, we have McCandless people, and we have residents going in and out of the hall. But there's got to be some way, I think the time to basically check, is it 4:30 or 5 o'clock? Because by then, most of the employees are gone. There's a minimal amount of people in the library. Quite often at 5 o'clock, the McCandless Room is not occupied because classes are either during the day or in the evening. But I think we need to start looking at the cars that are in that lot at 5 o'clock. And in all honesty, Max, there aren't a heck of a lot of cars there unless there's an activity on the field, in which case people are parked in the
But
field.
What are you suggesting that?
Well, I'm not
do it?
suggesting, I don't believe this
There's
is
no
the,
regulations there.
I don't believe this is the work of the police department. I think the mayor and council have got to come up.
So
if-
what I would
if-
suggest, because you asked, is to put the same 3 hours, maybe 3 hours Monday to Friday limit on the parking lots in the municipal parking lot. Give all the employees a decal or something that they can put on their cars, or they can put on the dashboard, and then basically use the parking lot like any other parking lot of the town, which would make it, I know that all the police people park their cars to the left over there, and would make it easier for everybody. This parking lot has a separate statute than any other parking lot. There shouldn't be. Every parking lot in town should have the same statute, and I'm also in agreement with you, Peter, is that a very low cost, maybe a 3-month trial for somebody for 4 hours a day, will tell us if we have or not an issue that we need to deal with.
Well, if there is an issue, that person can be self-funding.
Exactly.
So we'll
that's-
talk.
Peter,
we'll-
I have a
we'll-
question
we'll
for the
talk-
chief.
Yes, Mark.
How many, in 2018, how many parking summonses were given out?
Townwide, 1,119. Now, that is, again, that's going to include some overnight parking, but the vast majority is probably downtown parking.
Mark?
It's downtown parking.
A lot of it is, yeah.
What is the, and one more question, what is the fine for the parking?
It's $50.
$50? Okay.
It's sufficient.
Thank you.
Would it be a lot of trouble to break down the parking tickets versus overnight parking, off,
No,
street
I
parking
just-
and parking lot? Is that possible?
It is.
Could we get that? So we got a better sense of exactly what's going on. But once again, I truly believe that this has to be a low priority for the police department with all the other responsibilities you have. You know, you basically said it right. When the traffic department has staffing, and now it's more likely than in the past, you can get to this. But there are times when you don't have the capability of getting to this.
Right. Right now, the traffic bureau is 2 people because I have 2 officers, one is on family leave and one is the new officer being trained. And so technically, it's usually 3, it's 2, but in about a month from now, we're back to 3. Again, something, this is all the activity of all the parking enforcement details this year. So it's something, once in a while I hear something, we're not doing enough, and it irks me. It's something that, no, we are, and they take great pride in what they do, something, and, again, we try not to be too heavy-handed, but we are there, we are showing a presence, we are chasing people out, we're trying to educate them also, too. We do issue some warnings from time to time or something, but we are issuing summonses, and we are getting after people on the road also, too. Now, you had indicated, Max, that you want to see back here, basically, you said all lots have the same regulations. They don't. Some basically are employees, some are 3 hours, some are commuter, so there's a variation.
No, he's suggesting that we put some regulations
Yeah, we
on this
put
lot.
it-
That's fine, but he said they all have the same.
No,
They
no.
don't.
They're all regulated with the exception of this parking lot.
Okay.
Are we getting, I have just a question about this lot here, municipal lot here. Are we getting a lot of complaints from residents on the parking? So what's the actual problem there that we're trying to fix?
Well, I think it's, you could call it a problem, you could call it an observation.
Yeah. We don't want to make this a commuter parking lot and it become a
Now,
commuter parking
to
lot.
be honest with you, I don't think there's very many instances where anybody that comes into this parking lot can't find a place to park. The only time that's usually the case is if there's a football game.
Football game, in between games,
You
right?
know, 2 teams coming and 2 teams going. But generally speaking, the lot is accessible. Occasionally on court night, it can be rather full.
Can I ask you a question? Are you folks getting a lot of complaints about the parking?
No.
Or you just basically, you're making an assumption?
We didn't, but I personally, I have so many times, I cannot find parking in the parking lots where I'm going shopping, which is annoying for me. And if I cannot find parking, I'm sure that everybody else cannot find
Well,
parking.
the reality of it is, the one lot that I think is very indicative
Yeah.
is the Stop and Shop lot, which is private, and we don't enforce it. But you go down there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the Stop and Shop is empty, and maybe there's a couple of people in the bagel store, and there's 50 cars in the lot. And many of the cars are parked over to the corner closest to the bus shelter. So you get an indication, if that lot, how about the other lots? And I do believe that the level of enforcement could be increased, but I'm not leaning on the police department. I think mayor and council, if they want a higher level of enforcement, we have to come up with a plan, and preferably not tonight.
The end of March, one of these records here, we went into the CVS lot and wrote 5 summonses. And then a week later, we went and no violations observed. It's hit or miss.
Okay.
But again, the employees and store owners,
There's something
they
else
know
on
that
there?
we're out there. and they don't know when it's going to happen. I think we're effective. Again, I try
Does
to
anybody-
do it in a balanced fashion and try not to overdo it.
So Chief, when they do a detail in the commuter parking lot, do they check the decals on the cars if they are commuters or not?
Yeah, they have to.
Yeah,
And there are times we issue summonses and the person comes and says, oh, I had it, I didn't have it displayed. Now, that's a separate violation. We usually obviously give them a break as a resident,
Sure.
get paid for it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, they do. And also to the employee also too, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So one of the things we're actually looking into is to make parking lot O more useful for both either employees or shoppers. But that's where these questions are. What I would like to know, and I want to say how horrific the accident was on County Road the other day, and, you know, in following up about where your resources should go, you know, if there's a request for traffic or for safety, obviously, to me, that's where your traffic officers go over these parking lots.
The traffic officers every day, and including every patrol officer, and you don't hear a radio, but every morning, they all have to call out on a school post, and in the afternoon. So every officer, I changed this years ago, and traffic officer, they all take a school. That's why if you drive around, you see a police officer near the school, you probably see something in your kid's school
Every morning.
district, and in the afternoon. So the traffic officers, unless there's an accident, they go to the schools and they deal with the traffic problems, and then when the school is in session, then they go and they start their traffic details and their speeding details and things like that. So that we're on top of.
Can I ask, are we able to put an additional officer on Central from now until the end of school, until we can determine whether a crossing guard is appropriate?
We're working, I'm doing the counts. I actually did it myself the other day because we were short-staffed or something, and I'm going to do some more counts. I'm going to come to you with a report. I think we're going to have a shared services meeting about this very soon, or joint use meeting, right? So can we talk about that?
Yes.
That's the
Friday.
appropriate time to talk
Yeah.
about it.
You know, but come Monday, they're gonna be kids crossing
Monday through
counties,
Friday, I'm
so-
going to have people there, something crossing and doing counts.
Right,
It's a pressing matter, and we're looking into it.
Thank you, Chief.
thank you.
Anything
Let's
else?
go to the administrator's report, please.
Yes, on tonight's agenda, we are awarding the contract for the Riverside Cooperative Program. What we did differently this year, the mayor and council adopted a temporary capital budget, which enabled us to adopt a bond ordinance that has allocated money to fund this program, to fund the pavement management study, and for possible microsurfacing of roads. And because of that, the timing did work to our favor. Last Wednesday, the Riverside Co-op had their bid opening, and the following day, April 11th, they awarded the contract to D&L Paving. We are one of the first municipalities piggybacking on that, and tomorrow there's a Riverside Cooperative meeting, and I am going to elbow my way in to be the first municipality, so that way we could get this done in May to June, as opposed to previous years, we would award it late in the summer, and then the project would take place right when school starts.
Good.
Can I ask a question about the report, please?
Okay, well, I have one more thing before we go to the engineering report. There was an issue, a concept of using volunteers through the Easter Seals program to provide assistance to the senior center. And I did get in contact with the person that is assigned out of Hackensack, and we are in the process of looking to assign an office assistant to help Michelle out at the senior center, as well as somebody to help out with maintenance. And the maximum they could work is 16 hours a week, so that is in progress.
Thank you. Last session, we discussed the fact that we're going to institute a contract management. When do you think we're going to have that done?
Well, all of our main contracts are current. As far as our professional services contracts, in order to go out for RFP, you have to include pay-to-play documents. And you cannot include pay-to-play documents until after the November election, because we need to know who are the new elected members and what party they belong to.
Well,
I'm sorry, that was not the issue.
But as far as the contract, Susan did say she was gonna look into vendors.
No. What I think the council is looking for
It's a contract schedule.
is a contract schedule.
Yes.
We'd like to know all of the contracts and the time frame when they were signed and when they expire.
Yeah.
And after that starting point, we're going to look to setting up a schedule so that we don't come down to where we don't have time to,
Yes, to not repeat what we
address it.
just went through.
Okay.
So when can we have
when
this?
when are you going to,
This was brought up last week, and we had to work on the budget, getting the
Yeah.
budget out to Trenton within a few days, so it is coming. We have to evaluate potential vendors that would be able to do
we're
that.
not talking about
We're not
vendors.
talking vendors.
We're talking about, we just want, the council wants a list of contracts and when they expire.
When they expires, and what's the trigger point for the new negotiations? We don't need vendors, anything like that, just the 100 contract that we have, the date of expiration, and what is the trigger point to be able to start the new contract. That's what we need.
Your CFO has a response.
Yes, please.
You got to get up to the mic, we're on television.
And tell your name and address.
Susan Corrado, CFO. Okay, so we have a contract management schedule in DPW. They list all the contracts.
Okay.
Okay, but we would have to solicit the other departments to find out what contracts they have included in the budget.
Right.
And then we could ask them to compile a schedule as well, and then we could compile a master schedule.
Yeah, so
But that
when
will
can
take
we have that?
Well, I think, when's your next staff meeting, or I could
That's
send it?
after the summer.
May.
We
Okay,
will-
so then
we'll
I'll
send-
send an email
We'll
out,
send it out, and
and I'll ask
I
them
would
for
say
all
by
their
the first
contracts.
meeting in June, we will have it.
Okay, so
give us time.
Adelini, would you please note over there, first meeting in June, we're going to have a contract management conversation?
I have a question. Is there a minimum amount?
It's immaterial.
I
Well,
just wanna
yeah, no,
know,
no,
is it a certain-
it's not immaterial. We're not interested
Right.
necessarily in the contract with the copier maintenance.
Right, that's
We're
what I
in-
need to
So
know.
use your common sense,
Okay.
okay?
All right.
Exactly, okay.
Anything else on the administrator's report?
Do you want to discuss the engineer report, or do you want us to ask questions?
It's up to you. Agenda was provided to you. If you have any questions, either I could answer it, Susan could answer it, Bob Culver could answer it.
Okay,
Depending
so,
on the question.
first of all, can we have an update of the work at the Nature Center? Where are we with that?
Mr. Spahn?
With the Vista
Mr.
Pond
Spahn.
Dam,
Yeah, please.
retention dam?
I believe they're just waiting for the delivery, Bob?
When we said we waiting for delivery, we waiting for a long time. What's the delivery date?
They have it manufactured and they're shipping it.
I'm sorry, you're too far away. Come closer, please, so everybody can hear.
It is listed here, the contractor ordered the trash rack and is waiting for delivery of the split gate.
Yes, it's waiting for, but when? We all
April.
waiting.
Supposed to be here in April.
We were all waiting. We need to understand when.
Well, it says that it's construction scheduling for this spring. Okay, so,
What's the schedule, Bob?
But we should see them in a few weeks.
Bill,
Bob.
Bob, whatever. We should know it within a week or so, is it?
No, I didn't say that.
So what did you
We should see
say?
them in a few weeks, according to the contract.
When is the dredging?
No,
That's
that's
a study.
not.
When is that study happening?
that's not going to happen until after the gate is installed.
Nothing's happening until they finish the gate, and then
Okay.
my understanding that the nature center is going to come to the mayor and council to ask for.
Yeah, we haven't allocated any funding for the dredging, so.
No,
No, well,
absolutely.
A study.
Yes, the vendor provided all the financial information. Once the gate is installed, then the aquatics analyst can test the water, the organic material, and then based on that test, it would determine whether or not it's even a candidate for dredging or hydroration.
So everything is gated by the existing of the gate.
Yes.
Can we have at the next meeting a date that we're going to have that done? It's already May, it's supposed to be done in April. We could basically have a report in May.
Well, ask for the status, if it has not been delivered by the time we meet next,
Yes.
see if we can get a firmer date as to when it will be delivered.
All right, the next thing, and I'm trying not to be, it's the dog park. You know, work will begin when quotes received and weather permits. Okay, when can we get the quotes? I mean,
Agree. I get asked this all the time. When's the dog park going under construction?
So, yeah.
You might want to stay up here.
You want to come, come closer?
I just started the other day looking at for state contract vendors for the fencing.
Yeah.
And as soon as I find one that is willing to respond, I'll have the price for them.
So should we review it in May at the first session?
Probably the second
April.
session.
The second
May,
session.
May 7th is all about adopting the budget.
Okay,
I have to
so,
say, I thought the dog park was going to be up by May.
No, no, you have to wait for the ground to thaw, they have to do some grading, put in the pea gravel, and until Mother Nature cooperates with us, any work they would do would be ruined, and we need consistent, stable weather.
all right, just stay with us for a second. The HVAC controls in the system, in the building, are we waiting for the approval of the budget?
Wait till the budget passes, and once the budget passes.
And the stopper period,
Yeah,
and the
Right
stop,
now, you can't verify, you can't,
we cannot ask any vendors to,
No.
okay,
no funding in place for the project.
okay, all right, okay. The rest of them are no problem. Thank you.
Okay, any questions?
I have a question actually for Bob. Bob, sorry. Just to follow up, I know you spoke with Tom Connolly on the county level on our county roads. And I know a lot of residents asked me about those main roads, counties, Clinton, Jefferson, Engle. Do you know if they're going to get paved or what the paving schedule for those roads are?
No, I don't know.
Have we requested that they be repaved?
I did,
Okay, and what did they let you know?
waiting
there?
for an answer.
Okay,
They were going, they hadn't even awarded any bids for this year.
nothing.
When next you speak to Tom, remind him that, I talked to him about finishing East Clinton. Never really was made clear to me what their intents are. He suggested they were going to do it, but I didn't get a firm answer as to when.
Until after all the bids are accepted, they know what their price is.
We've done the ramps, right?
Just waiting for approval from the county before grants out to be done.
Okay.
And the last, maybe not the last question, when do you expect the grading of the streets to be finished by?
We are anticipating having the report presented, hopefully for the May 21st meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions on the resolutions? All right, then I'm going to ask for a motion to close the work session.
I have a question. Susan, I asked about a expense on the Tahoe repair.
I have all the POs in my office.
Okay, thank you.
A motion to close the work session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If, with nobody objects, I'd like to go right into the public meeting.
We have to have that parking lot O meeting.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. Or tomorrow,
This week's on that. This week's on that.
next week then.
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice requirements have been satisfied. Meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center, and published in the record within the first 10 days of New Year. Copies of all revised or additional meeting notices are sent via fax to the record, Suburbanite Northern Valley Press, and are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center. Salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Bach? Councilmember Bach?
Here.
Councilmember Dayton?
Here.
Councilmember Grossman?
Present.
Councilmember Lennon?
Here.
Councilmember Park? Here. Councilmember Zena?
Here.
Mayor Rustin?
Here. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the April 4th special meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. A second? Second. Please call the roll.
No, it's just voice vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Revisions to the agenda?
We have none?
Okay. Public comment on anything? Anybody want to speak? Raise your hand and come to the microphone and just state your name, please.
Hi, Christine Everard, Chamber of Commerce, 39 Leroy Street. Just had a couple things on parking, since you're looking at that now. One, the parking permit for employees worked really well. We do have a number of employees where, in nail salons, for instance, they have employees coming in 2 days a week. A lot of those employees are still parking on the streets, not in the employee parking lot. I think you could, if you could up the number of parking permits, we would get a few more people out of the streets and not significantly impact the number of people going into employee parking lots because
Would
They
you
don't have-
encourage these store owners to come in and ask for passes?
Oh, yeah, we did. We had 65
Okay.
extra permits come in the last time, but they're limited to 8 per store. And a lot of the smaller stores that have a high service staff, it's not enough for everybody on their staff.
There are stores that have 8 passes actively being used?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, as I understand it. And there are definitely, when you have 2 people, like in the nail salons, you know, they come in for 2 days a week, you could have 16 people on your staff, but they're all part-time.
Okay, thank you.
Well, there's a little bit more. So that was one thing that we noticed. We have a problem in the parking lot, the employee parking lot, which is half of the parking lot opposite the post office. That gets filled up at noon when sometimes the employees go out to go on an errand or something. They come back, all the kids have taken up the employee parking, so now they can't park in the employee parking lot, and they go find their way to the street.
Well, so you're saying that people are parking in the employee parking lot that don't have decals?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
and it's particularly during the high school lunch period. As far as the officers, everybody seems to think that there is a very good balance of the officers being downtown and ticketing, and I've observed the officers interacting with residents a lot downtown. I think that's really valuable. They do watch for things like graffiti on the back of Magnifique or on the train station electrical box. I think they're very helpful for that.
Oh, your observations are very valuable, thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
No, I would have complimented you earlier. Any other public comment? Please just come up to the front, state your name for the, into the microphone.
I say Saturday and Sunday hours are not regulated on Washington Railroad.
My name is Dan Altuve. I'm the president of the board of directors for the senior center. And we're here in support, came in to support Michelle and to ask you again to please realize that we want to keep the continuity of what we're doing in the center, which is very important to the senior city of this town. And I know that you have the procedure to go through, but we appreciate if you could kind of do it as fast as you can to get us the personnel that we need to run the center as smooth as it has been in the past. We are in a transition period that we're trying to make lots of changes. Michelle is doing a really good job at getting the volunteers and sponsors to help us with the budget cuts, and we are doing very good on that respect. But we like to get things, the personnel steady so we can continue and do the mission that we're supposed to get it through. We thank you for your work.
Thank you. I want to thank you and the entire board. We do that on a regular basis at the board meetings for your service. You run a very nice senior center for us. Anybody else, any other public comment? Okay, I'll close the public comment section. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. A second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Bosch?
Yes.
Councilmember Bacon?
Yes.
Councilmember Brewster?
Yes.
Councilmember Leonard?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Thank you. Committee reports. Dan, you have anything?
I do not.
Jeff?
I just want to update the council. We have been actively meeting with the Parks Committee, and there's a clear message sent to the Parks Department, Parks and DPW, I should say, that we want to see all the parks cleaned up on a schedule. They have assured us that they're working on blowouts, weeding, spring cleanout, aerating, mulching, and that they will have finished that process for all the parks. Their plan is by Memorial Day for every park to do all those things. They're also going to be planting trees along Piermont. I know trees have been a big concern of ours, 60 to 70 trees along Piermont. We met,
One in each pothole.
yeah. The mayor and I met with Bob Colbert today. We talked about a few trees being put in at Hyler Park and also at
Froggy Park.
Park, along with looking at some other options to provide shading at Froggy Park. Colorful trees, yes.
Flowering.
Flowering trees, so they won't
Shade
necessarily
trees.
be that tall, but they would be enough to provide some shading.
One of the issues we discussed in great length, as far as shade trees are concerned, we have 3 very large trees in Hyler Park, and it's impractical and to try and plant a large shade tree under the canopy of those 3 trees. And when you subtract the space that those canopies take up, it doesn't leave any real space. But they are going to plant some trees there. Same thing with Froggy Park. So one of the alternatives Jeff mentioned is we're looking for at least one piece of equipment that provides some shade, a canopy or umbrellas, and we're talking directly with the Director of Recreation. And if you have interest, you should go in and see what she has in mind. But
One of the things that she and Bob Colbert seem to be on the same page is some sort of a pavilion being in the southwest corner, which would provide some seating and some cover for people who go there.
No, see, that's, I'm sorry to interrupt. The issue that
It's
we
okay,
have-
everybody does when I give a report.
Oh, well, that's, you're a
You're the-
teacher, you get,
you're
the
number
issue
2,
that we
so.
had with the parents that they were asking is, when they put the kids in the swing, that's when they want, especially the very tiny young kids, they would like to have shade for those rather than having that in a pavilion or so. So that would be the issue.
Well, that's why there was a discussion of some trees. The problem becomes, there's some big trees in there now.
Yeah.
And where those trees cover, you can't plant under them, under the
Yeah, of
canopy.
course.
So you're limited with that. You can't plant trees too close to playground equipment because that's a danger. So you're limited where you can put them. So we were looking strategically at places mostly on the south side that trees will grow up and that will provide some shading toward the swings. You also don't want trees too close to the swings where leaves, branches, everything will end up coming down them. So it was really trying to find,
Good.
to your point, the best possible
Thank you so much.
solution. The other thing that was discussed by the DPW committee is our least favorite topic, but most important, paving and potholes. And trying to find a way to measure productivity for how the rate of filling the potholes. We do understand that they have been short-staffed and that has slowed the process down a little bit, but we have asked them to make sure that this is a number 1 priority, and I know that a lot of people are concerned about their cars, the conditions of the roads, and so they have a crew that is working to address this. As soon as they're done with the parks cleanups, they will dedicate a second full crew to deal with potholes. And they're going to also try and get an additional person into each crew because one of the problems right now is they're using a 2-person crew, which is not all that efficient for getting the asphalt to the site, making sure the roads are properly blocked and getting all the potholes blown out. So the idea is to make this more efficient so that we get every pothole addressed. If anybody has a pothole they know of, you want to call it in because that's how it will get addressed faster. Put it on the DPW's radar because yes, they do drive around the town, we all do, and the faster you call in, but you know, you want to make sure if it's a tiny, like 1 inch, you could put a quarter in there, that's not a pothole. I mean, we do want to put priorities to
we have
things
standards for it.
that 3/4
We
might
still
fit.
Do the
So-
potholes go on the GIS program? Or is
So
it not productive?
They've just gone to work order right now. What they
Okay.
are doing is they are tracking, using the program, they're tracking where the trucks are, how long the trucks are there. They're taking photographs before and after so that they know what is done, but the problem is we need a foreperson out there to also monitor, and this has not been happening. And so the productivity, to Councilman Bash's point at the meeting, was the productivity may not be fully there,
Okay.
and that's being addressed.
Can I actually ask our acting DPW director? I
Bob
live,
Colbert.
Mr. Colbert, I live in the Mom School District, which actually got a lot of potholes filled, and we thank you for that. But then I received an enormous amount of resident complaints, and truthfully, I have the same one, about the quality of the job. We had loose gravel all over, it's stuck in all my tires, it's on my kids' sneakers. We had raised potholes, not level with the street. We have potholes partially filled, not completely filled. So can I ask, what is the procedure to go back and check the quality of the job? Because as far as I can see with my own two eyes, this is very inadequate as far as the quality here.
In the Long Street area, the road is basically beyond pothole repair.
Can you talk?
And
Sorry, I want the residents to hear this.
the location that you're describing, we discussed at the meeting.
Okay, good, because I've got a lot of complaints.
And at the meeting, I'm gonna be honest with you, we don't receive many complaints about Magnolia from the school. I looked up the reports, we only had two. Those two reports were
Addressed.
I had every resident on the first half of the hill of Sisson talk to me, standing in the street, plus all the parents as we come out of the school district
Which is
stop
to
me on the
my-
street.
Which is to my point,
Yes.
people have to
If they're not
They have to
contact the
well,
borough.
Well, they believe they're contacting me and that I'm relaying the information, so that's what I'm doing here and now.
What I would recommend, if people are contacting you regarding issues, direct them to the office. I've made this recommendation before. If they're not calling our office, they're not making us aware of it. So we're not, we eventually will get, if there's a pothole out there that they're not reporting, we eventually get to them. But if there's something dangerous that needs to be addressed right away, you have to make us aware. Magnolia needs to be repaid. We keep going back, we keep putting in, we keep fixing potholes. But what happens is after we have pothole after pothole, the road starts breaking apart, we end up fixing all the different potholes. You're gonna get a rough surface. And that's what's up there now.
Someone
It's a rough
described it as
surface.
driving on the moon, like the moon craters. That's literally how one of the residents told me. It was
Well,
like,
we've already determined that area, it will be on the 2020 Riverside Cooperative, and we will do the same thing as we did this year, adopt a temporary budget, so we could have an early bond ordinance to fund it in place, so that way when bids are awarded, we jump in line and are one of the first. So that's already in progress.
but will a crew come back now and clean up the loose gravel? I mean, there's loose
When the
gravel.
street sweeper comes through,
That's,
they'll grab it. It happens when you patch the potholes. There's always some of the product does not adhere to the patch, some of it gets picked up by the tires, because it's tar, it's sticky.
Sure.
Until it dries, it's gonna get picked up. When it gets picked up, it gets thrown to the curbside, and when the street sweeper comes through, they'll pick that all up.
should we have a procedure, though, that when the paving crew comes through with potholes, the street sweeper comes through in a certain period of time after?
That's a good idea.
No, there's no need for that, because we sweep the town, the entire town once a month, if not more.
I mean, so it would be about a month between when the potholes are filled in any location in town and the street
No,
sweeper?
that's not a fair statement. Because I can fill a bottle today on Magnolia, and if he could be there the next morning to sweep the street, depending on how fast his schedule's going, and how dirty the roads are. The cleaner they are, the faster we can go, and the more times we can clean it down.
Yeah, but
Since you-
Bob, I think that's a fair proposal to basically follow up with some sort of a cleanup after a work is done, rather than wait for a schedule to happen whenever it happens.
But it kills my productivity then, and I have a street sweeper, they don't travel that fast, no.
No, what I'm saying and what Lauren is saying, and that Magnolia was done, so your street sweeper just gets through that section, and then it does. It's one block. It cannot kill anybody's productivity making a one block sweep in the morning. I mean, it's not that they has to sweep 10 streets. They worked out on one block, clean up that block, and then be on your merry way.
There's nothing wrong.
Merry way.
I'll take it under advisement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You finished, Jeff?
Unless you gentlemen have any more.
Please, are you finished? Thank you. You have anything?
I do. The Chamber of Commerce is holding its annual craft fair, April 27th and 28th. We hope you come out and enjoy the crafts. And while you're there,
It's a
Tenafly.
street fair,
It's
correct?
a street and craft fair. While you're there, you may make your way over next to the Tenafly Middle School, where Tenafly is hosting Earth Day. And so please attend both events. We hope they're well attended. The Welcoming Committee is holding a new resident event on May 15th at our firehouse. This is an event for incoming families, businesses, new residents. Please come out, get a tour of the firehouse. There should be an ice cream truck giving out ice cream. And also, we hope to start acknowledging our 125th celebration at this event. Let's see. Joint Use will meet again for a special meeting on school safety and crossing guards. And Northern Valley Greenway has a meeting scheduled for May 7th, in which its engineer, NV5, will be coming.
Thank you. And I'd like to emphasize Earth Day, which is April 27th. Earth Day rotates throughout various towns of Northern Valley. It's a wonderful, wonderful outdoor fair. It'll be at the middle school, all sorts of environmental exhibits. I urge everybody to attend. Max, you have anything?
Yes, I do. The Senior Services Committee met, and we got a report from the supervisor of the bus. We had 770 trips on Q1 of the year. The majority of the trips were specifically to the senior center, which is very good. They had trips to some specific shopping center like Trader Joe and Stop and Shop. We know that we are short on the CDL licensed drivers, but 2 additional licensed drivers are on the way, and they more likely are going to be used as now the primary drivers as soon as those drivers are getting certified. There are discussions about help for the senior people that are living alone, and Chief Chamberlain participated in the meeting. There were requests by the committee if we can institute some sort of a registration of people living alone, so some sort of a welcome, a visit or so can be done. Also, if they can leave the keys with the police in case of emergency, so the police can come in without having to break the door down. But this is in a very, very early stage of conversation, and nothing was specifically done. We had a report done by the Senior Services Coordinator, and she is doing a phenomenal job in reaching out to the seniors that are still at home. They have needs or so, and she is more than very active. She's in touch with the state authorities in order to make sure that people in Tenafly get all the support they need. And without going into the details, she's doing a very good job reaching out to the people that are in need. The suggestion was made that we look for a grant writer that is specialized in grants for senior citizen type approach. And there were some people that the Senior Services Committee were floating, people that might be available on a retainer type basis not as a full-time or so, but based on the amount of money that they can bring, they get a percentage of that. And I guess since Gloria was not here, probably we're gonna give you the names of those people to see if we can get some sort of a specialized grant checkers for senior services services. And with this one, that's pretty much it.
Vanu?
Two meetings in the past week. Most recently, there was a senior center meeting, and I'd like to welcome all the seniors. I know most of them have left, but it was good to see them come out in force. They introduced a new board member, Richard Gilmore, who was here, but he left. But otherwise, it was pretty much a very a quiet meeting. There wasn't very much going on. The Lancaster trip that they had planned is going to be canceled because there weren't enough people to sign up. But there are two other trips coming up, one on July 25th to Westchester, the Westchester Broadway Dinner Theater, and On Your Feet. And there's another one to Broadway on October 23rd for Ain't Too Proud, The Temptations. So just a couple of trips are planned, and they are filling up. And then otherwise, there was just, as Don Altuve mentioned earlier, just some discussions about the concerns for getting a director in place, and what our process is and everything. So that was one. The other one was the Youth Services Advisory Committee, and I can only say that there weren't too many people at the meeting. In addition to the director and the chair of the meeting, there were only two committee members present, and no agenda was really provided by the Youth Services by the director. Instead, he distributed a mini report, which went into a little bit of discussion about the summer camp, where they've placed an ad for marketing purposes to draw in campers. Last year, they had 65 campers in total. This year so far, they have 46 signed up. There was also a comment in the prepared report. Today at our directors' meeting, we were told that the budget was introduced yesterday and will be adopted on May 7th. There were no requested changes in the youth services budget for at least the last 10 years. This year's budget hearing was my longest and most disappointing to date. So that was his commentary. But following this comment, I mentioned that the council formed a subcommittee to discuss how the youth center and recreation department might be able to work together with them to understand how they operate and possibly to derive efficiencies. So I also, there was one other thing. I did also mention that there should be, that the Youth Services Committee should meet monthly. I believe it's important to meet monthly, but at the moment, he has no intentions of making it other than bi-monthly.
Thank you. Mark?
Nothing from this past week.
Music to my ears. Okay. Jeff, you want to read the introduction of the ordinance, new business, please?
I move to introduce and pass on first reading ordinance 19-12 and set the hearing for May 7, 2019 at 8 p.m. or as soon thereafter in the Tenafly Municipal Center.
Second.
Thank you. Adelini, please.
Ordinance 19-12, an ordinance to fix the salary range of certain management and administrative employees of the Borough of Tenafly for the calendar year 2019. Councilmember Bash?
Yes.
Councilmember Dean?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Bennett?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Councilmember Brennan?
Yes.
Okay. I have a proclamation I'm going to try and read. Whereas in New Jersey, NJSA 26-2H-58 allows individuals to name a durable power of attorney for health care, and NJSA 26-2H-53 provides the specifics for a healthcare directive, offering a model form for patient use. And whereas healthcare organizations across New Jersey are assisting residents to plan ahead for future healthcare decisions in the event that they are unable to make their own medical decisions, and to encourage the use of advanced directives to communicate these important healthcare decisions. And whereas, according to a report by the New Jersey Healthcare Quality Institute, it is estimated that 60% of the people in New Jersey have not put their end-of-life wishes in writing, and 38% have not had conversations expressing their end-of-life wishes. And whereas a significant reason for those low rates may be lack of knowledge and considerable confusion about advanced care planning and advanced directives, and whereas National Healthcare Decisions Day is designed to inspire, educate, and empower the public and healthcare providers about the importance of advanced care planning, and encourage physicians and care teams, medical groups, hospital and health systems, nursing homes and assisted living facilities, retirement homes, retirement communities, and hospices to participate in a statewide effort to provide clear and consistent information to the public about advanced care planning. And whereas conversations about healthcare decisions and the execution of advanced directives that make patient wishes known will mean that fewer families and healthcare providers will struggle with making difficult healthcare decisions in the absence of guidance from the patient. Now, therefore, I, Philip D. Murphy, this is a governor's proclamation, I'm not telling you I'm Philip Murphy, Governor of the State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim April the 16th, by the way, that's today, as Healthcare Decisions Day in New Jersey, and I encourage all people in our state to join me in this special observance. And many of you in this room were fortunate enough to be at the seminar we had last Wednesday at the Senior Center on exactly this topic. I want to thank the governor for bringing it to our attention. That concludes Mayor's remarks. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a pleasant evening. Thank you for joining us tonight.